Hey, this is Nick from ZenHappiness.com. Thanks for joining me today. I'm glad you're here for our first episode of our podcast/vlog. And today we're going to go into the idea of non-reactivity. So on this blog and podcast and also everything we're putting out there, we talk a lot about the idea of mindfulness. And one of the things I wanted to address is that while mindfulness is a type of meditation, it's also more of a holistic approach to the way you approach life. They're not totally interchangeable in terms of mindfulness or meditation being the same thing. There's a lot more to the idea of mindfulness, just rather than sitting for 5-10 minutes a day in quiet and being mindful of your thoughts and all the things that we'll go through with those exercises. While that's a very important part of it, there's a lot of importance in just approaching the whole of your day in sort of a mindful manner. So today, one of the aspects of mindfulness I want to talk about is called non-reactivity. What's really interesting about non-reactivity, I think it's probably one of my favorite aspects of it, which is why I'm starting off with that one, is the idea that we don't need to be so quick to react to everything that comes our way. We can take some time to just sit and contemplate things from sort of like an outsider's perspective. So a good way to do this in practice, so if you are taking that time to meditate, a good way to practice non-reactivity is while you're sitting, instead of trying to clear your mind and keep it free of all thoughts and just be empty and open, is to actually allow those thoughts to come into your head, and instead of reacting in either a negative or a positive way, sort of whatever you're feeling, and trying to either explain it or block it out and get back to like a blank slate, sort of step back and observe that thought, almost as if you're kind of like a third-party person. Take a step back and think about why you're feeling the emotion you're feeling. Don't label it as a good or a bad emotion. Just kind of sit there and observe it. Another thing that often happens when we're meditating, whether you're a beginner or you've been meditating for a long time, is you'll start getting sort of random pains, or a little spot on your nose will start itching, and it's almost your body's way of having to feel something all the time. You kind of get to a point where you have this itch on your nose, and our instinct is to say, that's really uncomfortable, I'm going to scratch it. But instead, if you can sit and almost focus on that spot, think of focus on it intensely and just look at it from sort of a third-party perspective, you'll see that it'll start to go away on its own. A lot of times that can happen with random back pain that you'll get. It's not always necessarily, if you have bad back, maybe that's the time to adjust how you're sitting. But if you don't, and it's just something that kind of happens while you're meditating, it's likely just your body's way of needing to feel some sort of almost like discomfort that it can react to and adjust. And if you can just sit and observe it, a lot of times those things just go away on their own. Another thing I kind of enjoy doing when we think of non-reactivity is, while you're sitting, again, those thoughts come and go, you can almost think of them as sort of like a little ball of energy. And it sounds really kind of weird to say that, but it works really well. And then you can watch them kind of come and go and pass as sort of you're a bystander observing what your mind is doing. Once you're able to do that in practice, it starts to become really easy to do those things in everyday life. And it's amazing how much the simple idea of non-reactivity just completely changes your whole outlook. You're driving down the highway and someone cuts you off, and your initial reaction is to be super pissed off and take it personally. And if you just take a minute to breathe and not react and think about, why am I getting so upset? I'm fine. I guess that initial anger comes from the idea that someone just did something that was maybe dangerous for you and could have hurt you, but that moment has passed. It didn't happen. There's no reason to dwell in that anger or take it personally. You never know what that other person is going through. Maybe they're rushing because a loved one is in the hospital, or maybe they're just an aggressive driver, but it has nothing to do with you in general. So being able to step back from situations and look at them sort of more objectively is a really, really powerful result of practicing non-reactivity, and eventually it just becomes second nature. So if you're watching this and about to go meditate for 5 or 10 minutes, sit down and try to just observe your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions and physical sensations, sort of from a third-party view, almost like a out-of-body experience. And if you can do that, and you can do it consistently, you'll start to see that creep into all aspects of your life, and it's a really powerful and really powerful tool that we can get from mindfulness meditation. Anyways, thanks for joining me today. I hope this was enlightening, and find a way to go out and just love today. All right, see ya.